Are you ready for the best in Sooner football recruiting news? Then it's time to get locked in with Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Whether you're a recruiting doomer or sunshine pumper, text the guys on the First Liberty Bank text line at 405-651-3439. And call your shot on the Riverwind Casino jackpot line at 405-329-9000.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
Recruiting. What a roller coaster it is. Just when you think you're out, it pulls you right back in again. Just when you think there's something you can count on with certainty, the world of recruiting reminds you that you can't count on anything.
Wait, we can't count on things being certain when it comes to 17-year-old men?
Imagine that, right?
You don't say.
Imagine that. And the news of the day in Oklahoma recruiting circles has to do with one of their running back commits in the 2027 cycle. And look, we came on the air yesterday and discussed candidly the situation with 2028 running back commit Micah Rhodes. And Micah Rhodes, in all likelihood, is probably going to wind up decommitting from Oklahoma at some point. Doesn't mean he doesn't sign with Oklahoma, because Oklahoma will still be a prominent factor in his recruitment, but the position coach to whom he committed, DeMarco Murray, is no longer employed by the illustrious University of Oklahoma, and so he's probably going to want to reevaluate his options more intently for the time being, with as early in the process as Rhodes is. And so you have that potentially on the horizon. It's certainly on the list for OU football and recruiting fanatics as far as things that they're looking out for, and I don't know that it's going to be a huge shock to anybody if and when that news drops. But one of the guys that you didn't figure you had to worry about in the 2027 cycle was four-star running back KELDRID Ben out of Montgomery, Texas. And KELDRID Ben committed to the Sooners after an unofficial visit in late November. This is his very first trip to campus. OU was his first big-time offer. His only other offers at that point were UTSA and McNeese. And so he committed to Oklahoma, and that was that. That was supposed to be the end of it. He picked up a couple other big-time offers in January, briefly flirted with taking visits to Oregon and Texas, but after a conversation with Brent Venables, decided, you know what, I'm done. I don't feel the need to see any other campus. I don't feel the need to evaluate any of the other options that are at my disposal as a blue-chip recruit and now a top 100 overall player in the country with the latest update to the Rivals 300. Oklahoma believed in me. I like those guys at Oklahoma. They love me. This is the spot. Well, then news comes down late last night, courtesy of my good buddies Mike Singer and Kyle Kelly, who do an outstanding job covering Notre Dame recruiting for the On3 network, that KELDRID Ben is expected in South Bend this weekend. And, well, ain't that an interesting little wrinkle?
Well, the other interesting wrinkle is how that got into the news cycle, number one. But we don't have to go any further with that one.
I tell you, man, and I know this for a fact. The plans for the Notre Dame visit were a surprise to the staff at Oklahoma. They did not know it was something. At the time that news came out, they did not know that it was something on the horizon for KELDRID Ben. That had not been communicated to them. And so what does this create? Well, a real sticky situation between Oklahoma and its prized running back commit. Now, I know for a fact, I can say this right off the top, I know for a fact Oklahoma is working actively right now to ensure that visit does not take place. Needless to say, they would prefer for KELDRID Ben not to visit the University of Notre Dame. They would prefer for KELDRID Ben not to visit anywhere. They were of the understanding that KELDRID Ben was not going to visit anywhere else other than Oklahoma for the remainder of his recruitment. He's less than 3 weeks removed from being in Norman for Future Freaks weekend, at which point the staff had all the reason in the world to feel as though there was nothing amiss with the Ben situation, and he was going to sign with Oklahoma, and that recruitment was open and shut. Not so, Mr. Singleton. Not so. At least not yet.
And with a guy like that, what you're hoping for if you're Oklahoma is that this was a guy who we discovered before anybody else, and he's going to give us the courtesy, since he is verbally committed, to not look elsewhere. And that's, I think, a reasonable expectation to have. I know I can come across as more player-friendly and anti-institution. I'm not anti-institution, even though I do lean more in the favor of players, but that's a reasonable expectation to have. But the reality of the situation is that you're dealing with a guy going into his senior year who has never been as highly thought of as he is right now. And people are going to come calling. And I do think there has to be a level of grace that is extended as long as there is transparency. And I think if you can be forthright and say, hey, this one program wants me on campus, I at least want to check it out. Because remember, KELDRID Ben also, similar to Micah Rhodes, did not commit to Oklahoma during Dylan McCullough's short tenure so far. DeMarco Murray was still the running backs coach when KELDRID Ben committed. And he can say all the things of, well, I committed to the school, not to a coach, but that matters. It really does matter. So with the way that you've had the coaching change at running back, I would extend a little bit of grace to some of these guys who want to at least check out somewhere else, as long as there's transparency. If you're trying to sneak around, if you're creeping around, trying to go from one side of the country to the other, okay, now we've got to break in our conversing here. But as long as there's transparency, extend the kid some grace. He's got a coaching change to maneuver right now. That's how I would feel about it.
And I think you get it with Notre Dame, right? That program has a mystique about it. It's one of the most prestigious, time-honored, tradition-rich programs in the country. And they have had some very successful running backs in recent years, including two guys that will be in the first-round conversation next month at the NFL Draft in Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. And so you understand it. From a business standpoint, you understand it. What you'd hope is that if KELDRID Ben wants to continue entertaining the advances of other programs and taking other visits, that at the very least, to your point, he's being open with the OU staff about it. Because Ben visiting Notre Dame, I don't think is nearly as big of an issue if they had found out about it from KELDRID Ben himself, as opposed to via a report on Twitter.com. So
yeah,
that's going to be the rub. They also love KELDRID Ben and think the world of the player that he is going to be at the next level, which probably creates a little bit more inflexibility than they would have with, say, a guy like Trayvon Hall. Not to speak ill of Trayvon Hall, he's an outstanding player, but
there's levels to this.
There is levels to this. He's a 3-star kid from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, who has offers from half the SEC. And he also plays a position, or will play a position, at Oklahoma, where the Sooners already have 2 other commits that, at least according to the rankings, are more highly regarded than Trayvon Hall in Graydon Howell and Damari DeJean. And so if Trayvon Hall wants to take visits, and I know this is the feeling from the Oklahoma side, if a guy like Trayvon Hall wants to take visits, they're going to be a little bit more lax about it, because it doesn't feel like, how would I put this? It doesn't feel like a crushing blow if you lose Trayvon Hall. You'd like to have him, but if he doesn't wind up in the class, you got Graydon Hall. You got Damari DeJean. You have several other wideouts. Trey Britton, whom we mentioned yesterday, from the state of Michigan. That's a kid that's very high on Oklahoma, that kind of is cut from that same cloth. You're not going to find another running back like KELDRID Ben out there on the open market, because he's kind of one of one in this class. At 5'10", 225 pounds, a guy that runs the way he does with the contact balance that he possesses and the burst in the open field that he displays. This is a premium prospect at a position where generally there are very few premium prospects year in, year out.
Oh, yeah.
And if this kid doesn't sign at the University of Oklahoma, after the Sooners were first by a mile amongst the big-time schools to get involved with him, that's going to sting. And it's especially going to sting if he does wind up signing somewhere like Notre Dame, where you know good and darn well he's going to succeed and he's going to produce.
Yeah, but also, just from a psychological perspective here, you've got to tread on this pretty lightly too, and strategically, because you just said outlined what makes KELDRID Ben so great of a prospect as he is.
Mm-hmm.
Am I wrong in saying the player can leverage that too?
That he can. And you can argue he should.
Like, bingo. Because if I'm a player, I'm going to say, all right, you want me this bad? Then prove to me why you're better than everybody else once everybody else gets a hold of me. And then we'll see. But you're not going to do that necessarily if you keep a kid essentially handcuffed. And I'm not saying Oklahoma not wanting KELDRID Ben to go take other visits while he's committed is a bad thing. But it is you're walking a tightrope here when it comes to a situation like this. And yes, you're right, it would sting. Because now Dylan McCullough's job description changes. Because he wasn't going to have to start recruiting until the 2028 class.
And now he's got to recruit.
He damn sure will now if KELDRID Ben. I mean, number one, he's got to keep KELDRID Ben here now.
Yep.
But also, if KELDRID Ben decides to decommit and bounce for another school, now he's got to go get a second running back in the 2027 class as well. So there could be huge repercussions here.
There could be. And I know for a fact a couple of things here. First off, well, we all know this for a fact. Yeah, Notre Dame has a couple of recent success stories at running back that they can tout in Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, but who coached both those dudes?
Dylan McCullough.
The man who's now coaching running backs at the University of Oklahoma.
And that's got to be your biggest selling point.
That's your number one counterpunch right there is, hey, who developed those dudes? He's here at Oklahoma now. So that helps. But I also know for a fact that Dylan McCullough has been keeping tabs on other running backs in the 2027 cycle. He is not new to the game. He is not naive. He understands and has understood with him coming in and inheriting the relationships that DeMarco Murray was primarily handling on Oklahoma's behalf to this point, that there may be a little bit of wiggle room for some of these guys. There may be a desire on the part of a guy like KELDRID Ben or a guy like Jackson Stokes or a guy like Micah Rhodes to check out other options, and you have to be prepared to react accordingly if any and all of those guys don't want to honor their commitment to Oklahoma moving forward. Now, the one guy who has absolutely not wavered throughout all of this is Jackson Stokes. To this point, he has not entertained any other school. He's been committed to Oklahoma since early November. I believe he committed the night that Oklahoma beat Tennessee at Neyland Stadium, because he was at that game. He was visiting Tennessee. He had just been at Oklahoma the week prior. And what he saw at Neyland Stadium that night understandably convinced him that he wanted to be a Sooner. So
I bet Tennessee was like, oops.
Yeah, he has not wavered. There's nothing, there doesn't seem to be anything to worry about there with Jackson Stokes. But Ben and Micah Rhodes, yep, those look like a couple of recruitments you're going to have to continue to sweat if you're an Oklahoma fan. Now, once again, if the Sooners have any say in the matter, KELDRID Ben will not be taking that visit this weekend. They are doing their best to talk him out of it and to just re-emphasize all of the reasons why he committed to Oklahoma in the first place and why Oklahoma is the best fit for him. Will they be successful in doing so? Who knows? They did manage to talk him off those visits to Oregon and Texas a couple months back. So you have precedent there. But once again, I think the thing that is going to rub folks the wrong way in that building is they just had all of these conversations with KELDRID Ben within the last 6 weeks.
It's like, how many
times, hey, man, like,
how many times you want to keep running this back?
Exactly. Like, hey, man, Brent Venables came down to your school in January, explained to you the policy, and you agreed not to visit anywhere else. And now you're going to South Bend, Indiana? Really? And then, of course, the question becomes, okay, if KELDRID Ben doesn't take the visit to Notre Dame this weekend, are you going to have to do this all again at some point down the line?
Let's just say, for conversation's sake, Miami or Ohio State comes into the picture.
Oh, man.
Like, you shunned off Texas, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Shunned off Oregon, that's cool. Like those are two programs that can offer you a lot of money and the opportunity to win a lot of big games. Notre Dame the same way. But if the national runner-ups come calling, or the Buckeyes come calling, are we going to have to do the same song and dance all over again? What I want to ask you, though, is do you think if Notre Dame does succeed in getting KELDRID Ben onto campus, how do you think Oklahoma would proceed from there?
My guess is they would probably come to the agreement with him that he ought to go ahead and decommit. Now, that doesn't mean Oklahoma's backing off. And, like, for instance, S. Rob Booman says on the First Liberty Bank text line, 405-651-3439, this may be a harsh take on KELDRID Ben, but just cut him loose because he's been wishy-washy from the beginning. Yeah, Oklahoma's not just going to cut him loose. They're not going to walk away from KELDRID Ben. No shot. No shot.
This is a top 100 player.
But what you may do is have the same conversation that has been had so many times over the years by between the Oklahoma coaching staff and insert prospect here. This was a conversation that Bob Stoops and his staff quite famously had with CeeDee Lamb back in the 2017 cycle. Hey, you want to visit LSU? Okay, that's fine. But you're going to need to go ahead and decommit because this isn't a good look for us if you, the OU commit, are showing up to other campuses while pledged to us.
Now, obviously, that's a different world, though, because these kids weren't making money.
That's true.
It's a lot different of a conversation now.
Mm-hmm. Chris from Knoxville says, at some point, when does it reach F around, find out territory? Well, I mean, if it's me, and I don't make these decisions, I don't dictate these policies, but this is strike two, right?
Well, is it not strike three?
I mean, you can kind of roll Oregon and Texas into the same one, I think.
All right.
So if that was strike one, this is strike two. If it happens again, man, I feel like at that point you're definitely telling the kid, hey, you need to just go take your visits. Like, you're clearly not committed enough to feel like there isn't another school out there that can offer you something better than Oklahoma. And so go enjoy the process. And we hope you still wind up here, and we'll still recruit you here, but you're not committed here. That, I feel like, at that point is probably the nature of what the conversation is going to be. All right, folks, we are just getting rolling here on Locked In. 405-651-3439 is the First Liberty Bank text line. Grayson Singleton, Parker Thune here with you in the Buffalo Wild Wings studios. Keep it right here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. We'll be back.
Locked In is brought to you every day by Dorsey Jones GMC in El Reno. Dorsey Jones GMC is family-owned and operated with a knowledgeable, low-pressure sales staff here to help you through the buying process and half-price oil changes on Saturdays. Visit dorsey-jonesgmc.com for more information.
At Lander CDJR of Norman, it's the declaration of deals. Pick any new 2026 Ram Light Duty Crew Cab Bighorn or Laramie with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, or any new 2025 Jeep Wrangler Gladiator or Grand Cherokee in stock, and we're giving you big dealer discounts and 0% financing for 60 months with no payments for 90 days. Shop LanderCDJRNorman.com for straightforward internet pricing with no special add-ons when you get here. 0% financing must finance with Stellantis Financial for well-qualified buyers.
Hey guys, it's Dory Noka. Have you been involved in an auto accident? If so, it's time to contact the OKC Car Crash Clinic of Dr. Martin Lopez. He's a board-certified and fellowship MD with unparalleled training and experience. Dr. Lopez works with a great team of healthcare professionals and attorneys to help you achieve the best physical and financial recovery. Contact Dr. Lopez at 405-86-CRASH or at okccrash.com. Don't forget to listen every week to the Dory Noka Show for the Impact Player of the Game, brought to you by Dr. Martin Lopez.
Are you ready for spring sports season? Gear up like a champion with Balfour & Norman's exclusive apparel for OU softball, baseball, and gymnastics. From the diamond to the gym, we've got the latest shirts, hats, and fan gear that show your Sooner pride in style. Whether you're cheering in the stands or repping your team around town, Balfour of Norman has you covered. Visit us today on Campus Corner or online at crimsonproud.com. Balfour of Norman, where you'll find everything Sooner.
Feeling stuck in your current home? Now is the best time to make a move. Home Creations is making home ownership more affordable with low interest rate opportunities and special financing. Don't wait. Live like a champion today. Call Holly at 405-364-9999 to find your dream home.
At 364-9999 means Home Creations.
Get ready to swing into savings. Westwood Golf Course has deals you won't want to miss. Grab an afternoon tee time for just $28 after 2 p.m. or roll in late and play for only $23 after 5 p.m. Then hit the pro shop and score big. Select shoes, polos, and pullovers are 40% off, and there's a huge selection of golf bags. Now 20% off. Great golf and great savings. Westwood Golf Course. Get out and play. Book your tee time today at Westwood.
Looking for friendly service and delicious chicken? Head to the 12th Avenue Chick-fil-A to dine in, pick up, or get delivered. We're ready to serve you. Try the new Jalapeno Ranch Club on a buttermilk ranch bun with pickled jalapenos, lettuce, tomato, pepper jack cheese, and candied bacon. Get it classic, grilled, or spicy. And don't miss the seasonal strawberry hibiscus drinks, lemonade, or iced tea. Call 405-310-3189 or order on the Chick-fil-A One app. 12th Avenue Chick-fil-A, eat more chicken.
Good lighting is an absolute necessity these days, but not all lights are created equal. Did you know that you can reduce the energy consumption of a light fixture by up to 85% by converting to LED? Sounds like a great opportunity, but finding the right LED product isn't always easy. At Wade Electric, they have the knowledge and experience to provide an LED conversion that will save you money and stand the test of time. Whether in your home or office, get the right money-saving LED product the first time and call Wade Electric today at 405-329-1940 to receive a free estimate.
The best words to hear at the TSA security checkpoint? You're good to go. All it takes is a little preparation. Get to the airport early, bring a carry-on bag that fits in the overhead, and have an acceptable ID. Not all state-issued IDs will cut it. Check out tsa.gov/ID and see which TSA acceptable IDs make the grade, like a real ID or passport.
Before you jet, do a little prep, and you're good to go. Check out tsa.gov/ID or the MyTSA app.
It is locked in here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Parker Thune, Grayson Singleton with you. The show is brought to you by Dorsey Jones GMC in El Reno, family owned and operated. Staffed by plenty of folks out there at Dorsey Jones who are eager to assist you before, during, and after the buying process. And if you're not in the market for a new vehicle, if you just need service for your current vehicle, Dorsey Jones can help you there as well. Matter of fact, they offer half-price oil changes on Saturdays. So, many reasons to head out to El Reno and check out Dorsey Jones. To the First Liberty Bank text line, we go. 405-651-3439. That's how you chime in. Denver from Indiana says, I thought Nagy didn't recruit problems.
Hey, yo.
Seems like that dude from WR that chose Florida. What?
Huh?
Oh, Davian Gross.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about.
I think, yes, the wide receiver from Frisco Lone Star High School that went to Florida. I mean, here's the thing, Denver. First off, I wouldn't call KELDRID Ben a problem. I think he's just A 17-year-old kid who committed really early on in his process because his recruitment had not blown up in the slightest yet when he committed to OU, and is just kind of unsure of what exactly he wants. He's satisfied with Oklahoma, but there's also a part of him, in my opinion, that wonders if there's something else out there that he hasn't seen or hasn't experienced that's going to speak to him even louder than Oklahoma does. And that's fair. I can't fault him for that. But I don't know whether he's going to be permitted. I don't know if the Oklahoma staff is going to permit him to continue advertising himself as an Oklahoma commit if this persists beyond a certain point.
This is like when you've been ugly your whole life and then all of a sudden you glow up. And
you speaking from experience here?
I mean, partially, honestly. But and then this part, no. But I mean, I was ugly when I first went to college. Anyway, but
we've all been there.
But this is like when you glow up and you start getting attention. The first hot girl shows you attention, and you try to kick it with just one girl. You're like, wait a minute, there's other people that want me too.
Yeah.
That this is what this situation is. And look, here's the thing with KELDRID Ben, and I said this about Micah Rose, and I think it's applicable here, is that if you are the best option for him, he will come to the best option.
Mm-hmm.
You're just going to have to do a little bit more competition. And let it not be understated either. He committed when there was another dude coaching running backs. That does matter. So if you are still the best option for him, you're going to get him.
A 405 listener says, the University of Oklahoma doesn't live or die off one silly kid. If he comes, he comes. If not, we'll be just fine. The sun doesn't rise and fall with one player.
Boy, I hope these kids don't see this text line.
I mean,
good Lord.
In technicality, you're correct. Yes, Oklahoma's going to be fine. Oklahoma's going to continue to field a competitive program in the SEC with or without KELDRID Ben. But I think part of the reason that parting ways with KELDRID Ben would be so difficult, whether it is OU's choice or Ben's choice, is because this is, I mean, Ben himself individually represents a key data point for Jim Nagy and his front office that they can cite in future recruitments, because this is perhaps the most conspicuous example of a kid that they found that was on nobody's radar yet.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's. He had offers from McNeese and UTSA. I remember when he committed, there were people asking, is he a walk-on? He has 0 stars. Do they actually want this kid, or is he just coming here because he has a brother or something? He didn't get his rating from the recruiting services until like 2 months after he committed.
And you saw where he debuted.
Exactly. He was a nobody in recruiting circles until Oklahoma identified him and picked up his commitment. And so when you pull that off, it's really, really difficult at any point throughout the process to go your separate ways with a kid like that, because you'd like to be able to say at the end of the cycle, I mean, you'd like for him to sign his letter of intent and for your key figures, Brent Venables, Jim Nagy, etc., to be able to stand up there on the podium on National Signing Day and recount the story of how you stumbled upon this lightly recruited running back from Montgomery, Texas, population 5,000, and immediately recognized that he was going to be one of the biggest names, one of the hottest names in the country at the running back position in the 27 cycle. And moreover, it's proof, it's tangible proof that your process is working. It's tangible proof that you are evaluating better than many of your other peer institutions across the Power Four and across the SEC.
So are you saying that goes out the window if KELDRID Ben decommits and signs elsewhere?
It doesn't go out the window.
Because, I don't think it does.
You can still reference it, but if he's not a Sooner, if he doesn't wind up wearing the uniform, it feels a little less meaningful.
I mean, sure, yes, that part is true, but they could always say that, we were the first offer and we had him committed. I mean, there's an electronic trail of that.
Sooner Fish says, yeah, you glow up and then you get 3 girls pregnant and ruin your life. Sooner Fish, I hope you're not talking from experience.
I was about to say, and I have not done that.
I hope that's just a reality show you watched or something.
Trey on the YouTube chat says, man, just cut Rhodes and Ben. No other commits are having issues. Let Dylan recruit his own guys anyways.
I mean, if that's the way you want to go, okay. I would just beg you to keep in mind, Micah Rhodes is a top 3 running back in the 2028 cycle, and KELDRID Ben is a top 10 running back in the 2027 cycle. Running backs are not like wide receivers. Running backs are not like edge rushers, where to a certain extent they're a dime a dozen in terms of guys that are capable of playing at the P4 level, and you always have a viable fallback. No, again, you're not going to find another KELDRID Ben in the 27 class. Oklahoma, if they have to go that route, they may come up with somebody that they like a lot and feel like they can play high-level ball at Oklahoma. But the reason why Oklahoma is so enamored with KELDRID Ben is because he is such a unique prospect and offers such a unique skill set.
So, since we're talking about this, KELDRID Ben right now in the class of 2027 ranks where, Parker?
I believe he's the number 6 running back according to Rivals.
So, at least from what I'm looking at right now, that would be Trey Segara. As a matter of fact, unless this has an update, KELDRID Ben is nowhere here to be found, at least what I'm looking at right now. But
he's the number 5 running back.
Okay, number 5 running back. Okay, there we go. Yep. So, in the 2027 class, where else are you going to go? If you look at all these other running backs on this list, where else are you going to go? You would have to infiltrate another recruitment where a lot of these guys, there's already leans.
No doubt.
So the timing of this is a little bit, is not really in Oklahoma's favor.
And running back is also not one of those positions where you see a ton of late risers.
That's true.
Not a ton of guys that play their way onto P4 radars their senior year of high school.
Yeah.
And so there were several texters that asked about Lathan Wissington. I think Lathan Wissington is right there in the conversation as the best running back in the state of Texas in the 27 cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to be an expensive dude. I think it's a little too little and a little too late for Oklahoma to have reserved a seat at the table in the final stages of the Lathan Wissington sweepstakes. I don't know if the Sooners could get back in strong enough standing there to be able to make a serious play.
Especially because you have to introduce a new coach.
Exactly. Lathan Wissington, I don't think if he's interacted with Dylan McCullough much, if at all, I want to say DeMarco Murray, I want to say they kind of backed off Lathan Wissington about 2 or 3 weeks before DeMarco Murray departed the staff. So there hasn't been legitimate contact between Oklahoma and Lathan Wissington in a while. Still on the radar, obviously still a guy that, if the Sooners felt like they could have a shot at that dude, yeah, they'd mount a push. But I just don't know how realistic that is with Texas Tech and Texas and Notre Dame as well, among others, all going all out at Lathan Wissington. And they have been for a while. Turnbow in OKC says, yeah, well, Taylor Tatum was a 5-star and he's done. 5 stars don't always turn into superstars. I know you know that, but I think we'll get Ben if he's a smart kid. Hey, Taylor Tatum ain't done, Turnbow. He's just playing safety at the University of Michigan. The Sooners will see him again in Ann Arbor this fall. How interesting will that be?
Oh, my goodness.
JG says, I'm guessing that everyone that says we should cut ties has never been a young 18-year-old or younger living in a town of 5,000 people with stars in your eyes. All of a sudden, I don't blame him. Hope he sticks to the commitment.
Bingo.
I'm not going to pretend to be able to put myself in KELDRID Ben's shoes. But again, here's what I know. Going back to January, I know he plans to visit Oregon and Texas, and I know after a conversation with Brent Venables, he decided I no longer need to visit Oregon and Texas. Now it's Notre Dame that's pushing to get him on campus. We'll see if it's another conversation with Venables or any other member of the Oklahoma staff that convinces Ben once again No, I don't actually need to go to South Bend. I don't need to make that trip. Drew from Plymouth says, hey, babe, I know you've been there for me when no one else would commit to me. I'm going to hit Magic City and see some friends. Don't worry, I'm still committed to you. Just want to let you know. When you put it like that, Drew.
That's a wild way. That's a wild way of – because if you're already in the relationship, that kind of means, in recruiting terms, that you've signed on the dotted line. Right?
Mm-hmm. Cup of Dirt says, hand the ball to Alex Shield Knight. I mean, hey, if Oklahoma wanted to use a true fullback, Alex Shield Knight might be the closest thing to a fullback you got on the roster right now. I love that, dude.
Hey, we've got a new guy on our YouTube chat.
Do we really?
Yeah.
Who's that?
Krankenstein says, I listen every day while traveling. This is my first time to watch on the tube. I can't believe I'm saying this, but oh no. Grayson is one of my favorites, even if he is a poke.
I thought that was probably going a different direction.
I thought
based on the usual feedback we get on the YouTube chat.
I thought it was too.
But Krankenstein, we appreciate you joining us. We appreciate having
Welcome
you
to
along.
the family, homie.
Krankenstein. What an interesting screen name. It's unique.
That is unique, yeah.
Kyle from Salsa says, if I wouldn't have glown up, I wouldn't have married the sexy wife that I have and had 2 beautiful children. # embrace the ugly and the glow up.
If I showed you a picture of how I looked going into college when I was 40 pounds lighter and had one of those crazy COVID haircuts.
Oh, my goodness. Don't remind me.
When the barbershop was closed.
Yeah, because you couldn't get a haircut during COVID.
And had to do it at home. Man, if I showed you a picture of me from when I first went to college, bro, you would be like, what in the world?
It's probably true. We've all been there at some point.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone who says they haven't been ugly at some point in their life is just lying. You're just lying. You're dishonest.
Or you peaked in high school.
There's also that. Which, honestly, that might even be a worse fate. 405-651-3439 is the First Liberty Bank text line. One final segment to come here on Locked In. This is The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Keep it right here.
Hey, Sooner fans, this is Jaron Kanik, and you're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Do you like to stand out in a crowd while wearing the best in OU apparel? The Jimmy Austin Pro Shop carries the best brands you can wear to work or even dress up events. Lines such as Lululemon, Travis Matthew, FootJoy, Greg Norman, Grayson, or Turtleson with the OU and Jimmy Austin logo are sure to catch everyone's eye. You don't have to be a golfer to shop at Jimmy Austin. They also do corporate special orders for you and your company. Call them today, 405-325-6716, or visit theougolfclub.com for more information.
Hey guys, it's Dory Noka. Have you been involved in an auto accident? If so, it's time to contact the OKC Car Crash Clinic of Dr. Martin Lopez. He's a board-certified and fellowship MD with unparalleled training and experience. Dr. Lopez works with a great team of healthcare professionals and attorneys to help you achieve the best physical and financial recovery. Contact Dr. Lopez at 405-86-CRASH or at okccrash.com. Don't forget to listen every week to the Dory Noka Show for the Impact Player of the Game, brought to you by Dr. Martin Lopez.
Enjoy a day of free play, sand volleyball, turf field, outdoor pickleball, and more at the Young Family Athletics Center. Be the first to explore the new outdoor state-of-the-art amenities, hang out with OU athletes, and catch special pickleball demonstrations. Stop by the new Timeout Cafe and join us for the ribbon cutting at 5:30 p.m. Plus, grab exclusive swag giveaways while supplies last and register for the Volleyball League with a special $10 discount. The YFAC is located at 2201 Trey Young Drive in Norman. Go online to yfac.com to learn more.
Hi, this is Peggy Doviak of DM Wealth Management, and we've been working with the residents of Norman for over 20 years as we help them solve questions about their cash flow, retirement savings, or tax planning. We also offer portfolio management solutions to help people meet their financial goals. We would love to help you plan your prosperity. Check us out at dmwealth.com.
Coach Stoops here for Van Hoos Fence. If you want to work with the best local fence company and get championship service, contact my friend Mark and the Van Hoos Fence team. Van Hoos Fence gives each customer the most professional craftsmanship and competitive pricing in Oklahoma. From wood to chain link to vinyl to metal fences, the Van Hoos Fence team does it all. Contact the Fencing All-Americans at Van Hoos Fence, 405-735-1167 or vhfence.com.
My fiance is a veteran.
I did tours in Korea, Germany, and Bosnia before I got injured.
When Yusuf got out of the military, he needed help getting his disability benefits.
Luckily, DAV came to the rescue. They fought for me the same way that I fought for my country.
Every year, DAV provides life-changing support to more than 1 million veterans.
My victory is never giving up and finding more ways to serve.
He's pretty amazing.
Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
Come on down to River Bottom Nursery at one of their 2 locations in OKC. Now under new ownership, River Bottom serves both the commercial industry as well as the gardener and homeowner at both their plant and tree nursery locations. River Bottom Nursery has everything you need to make your yard paradise. Call them today, 405-735-3636, or swing by one of their 2 locations. RiverbottomNursery.com, Oklahoma City's premier tree and plant nursery.
In the U.S., 1 in 5 children with cancer will not survive. But there is hope because of you. Help give them more birthdays, more moments, more tomorrows, because every child deserves a chance to grow up. Give them tomorrow. Support St. Jude today.
Last segment of Locked In for the day here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton here in the Buffalo Wild Wings studios. Talking Cruton with all y'all on the First Liberty Bank text line at 405-651-3439. Cup of Dirt says, Grayson was chopped in high school.
I was chopped, man. The only thing that saved me socially was that I was good at basketball.
That helps, doesn't it?
Being an athlete helps.
It definitely helps.
It helps.
Bob from Cement.
Are we actually
You have
this?
to keep your texts air appropriate, Bob.
I was about to say, there's no way.
There's no way I'm reading that text on air. Blake from Owasso says, I get kids enjoy the process, once-in-a-lifetime experiences, and I get coaches leave left and right, but at some point, these kids' words have to mean something, especially when they say 1 week they're all in, then the next week they're taking other visits. Also, can hurt if they flip late, then screws OU on getting their replacements. Yeah, no doubt. And that's part of the reason that Oklahoma, no doubt, is not going to play the will he, won't he game with KELDRID men forever. Like they're going to want an answer probably no later than May or June at the absolute latest as to what his plans are. Now, I will rewind here. I'm going to try to find. Yes. This was February 18th. This was 5 weeks ago. I wrote a story at OUinsider.com from an interview with KELDRID Ben. The title of said article is, KELDRID Ben won't visit anywhere but OU this summer. The quote from Ben, among others, in the article, is, no, sir, not as of right now. When that was in response to my asking about his visit plans to other schools beyond Oklahoma. He said, I never ended up going to Oregon or Texas. Coach Venables wasn't too happy about it. Imagine that. He said, whenever he came down to the school, this was kind of a crazy thing, but it was also funny. He put it like a marriage. If you ask this person to be your husband or be your wife, and that person goes and talks to another person, how would you feel about it? And I was like, yeah, I understand it. That was KELDRID Ben 5 weeks ago. So, does it need to be another come-to-Jesus conversation between Ben and Brent Venables?
What's going to hit harder than if you ask a lady to be your wife and she goes off with somebody else? I feel like you played your best hand with that one.
Yeah. Just got to rewind it back to that same conversation, I guess. This is part of the increased risk that you run, though, Grayson, when you piece a class together as early as Oklahoma has pieced it all together. Because there are always going to be a few guys that at some point down the line are going to start to get restless. Whether that's justifiable or not, they're going to start to get restless. And they're going to start to wonder, did I miss something somewhere along the way? Or did I decide on Oklahoma before I gave this other school enough of a chance? Oklahoma has 19 commits. That's by far the most in the nation. It's not even close. I don't think anybody else has more than 10 or 11 right now. And a lot of those guys were committed during calendar year 2025, before calendar year 2026 rolled around. KELDRID Ben is one of those guys. So I don't think you have any reason to worry about a guy like Cooper Hackett, for instance. Born and bred Sooner, wanted to wear that uniform his whole life. Nothing's going to change that kid's mind. I mean, committed to Oklahoma against the advice of his representation, at least at that point in the process, because he just didn't want to wait. He wanted to be a Sooner. But some of those other early commits, man, this may not be the last that we see or hear of an early Oklahoma commit checking out another school. Doug in San Antonio says, guess we need to be patient and give Coach McCullough a little time to work with these recruits. He's done well with that in the past. That he has. And he got the opportunity to meet and interact with Ben in person at Future Freaks a few weeks back. The goal for Oklahoma probably will be and should be to get Ben back to campus for a spring practice visit. Get him back around the team. Not just in the building, but around the team. Get a sense of, hey, here's what you can expect when you show up to Oklahoma. This is how we work every single day. This is the type of coaching and instruction that you're going to get on the practice field. This is a glimpse of your experience at Oklahoma. And so I don't know what exactly the conversations have been between Oklahoma and Ben over the last 18 hours since that news became public, that he was planning a Notre Dame visit. But I have no doubt that part of the whole pitch, if you will, from the Oklahoma staff to try and keep him away from Notre Dame will be, hey, come on up here for an unofficial visit during the spring practice period. We want you to see what it's going to be like for you on a day-to-day basis when you get here to OU.
Do you think that if this gets out of control and we see 2 or 3 more stories like this where guys are committed and trying to take other visits elsewhere, God forbid, sneaking around taking visits elsewhere, do you think that Oklahoma kind of pumps the brakes on trying to piece their classes together as early as they've done this one? Do you think they reevaluate that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't know if this will alter the philosophy for Oklahoma. I think in that building there's an understanding that these days, with the way that the game has changed, you really can't take anything for granted until pen hits paper on signing day. Because, I mean, take the example of what Michigan pulled with Bryce Underwood a couple cycles back, where he's committed to LSU for the longest time, and then they literally come up with the Godfather bag funded by Dave Portnoy and Larry Ellison to keep him home in the state of Michigan. Like, stuff happens, man. You're never going to get away from that reality. Stuff happens when there is money involved. So I don't think it's going to cause a philosophical shift, but I do think it's just going to heighten the awareness from the Oklahoma side that we have to be really, really intentional, about staying on top of all of our guys that commit early. Because we can't allow ourselves to be surprised and reacting when we find out that KELDRID Ben is visiting Notre Dame. Like, we can't let a detail like that slip past us until the last minute. Brian in Bigsby says, if Venables is putting it that way, my response would be, why are you recruiting more than one person at my position then? Well, the simple answer is because you need to recruit multiple running backs.
Yeah, you can't just have one.
Yeah, you're not talking about quarterback here. Quarterback is pretty much the only position where you can get away with only recruiting one per cycle. There may be certain positions where the current state of your roster dictates that you only need to pursue one player in a given cycle. It was this way for Oklahoma at running back in the 2025 class when they picked up Torrey Blaylock. That was all they needed with their current depth, their existing depth at running back. But more often than not, you're going to see multiple signees at every position except quarterback because you know in this day and age you're going to deal with attrition via the transfer portal. And I'll add this. I don't know if I've stated this before. This was actually a huge asset for Oklahoma, a huge plus for Oklahoma in their pursuit of Jonathan Hatton. If you're a running back, more often than not, this is going to sound counterintuitive to some. In my experience covering recruiting, and this was absolutely the case with Jonathan Hatton in particular, these running backs don't want to be the only guy because they understand they play a position that has a very short shelf life in the NFL. Mm-hmm. And that's where they all want to go. And so, when you play a position that already has an exceptionally short shelf life, and now, all of a sudden, you're stepping into a situation in college where you're going to have to tote the rock 300 times a season for 3 or 4 years until you're eligible to make that jump or ready to make that jump to the professional level, then that's just wearing more tread off your tires. And so I remember vividly having this conversation with Jonathan Hatton at the All-American game at the beginning of January. He said part of the reason that I chose to flip from Texas A&M to Oklahoma was because I looked at the way that Oklahoma uses their running backs, and it occurred to me that I want to be part of a room like that where it's not all on my shoulders and I'm going to be able to stay fresh. And they're going to be rotating multiple guys in and out at the position because if I want to have a long career in the league, first off, for any running back, a long career in the league usually means playing till 30. Very rarely do you see running backs play NFL football beyond the age of 30. That is generally considered to be the breakdown point. If you make it to 30, man, you start to age in double time at that point as a running back. So if I'm going to get to the NFL and I'm going to have a career that lasts 2 contracts in length at the professional level, or 3, if I'm going to get multiple contracts in the NFL as a running back, then I can't be tapped out. I can't be worn out at the end of my college career. I have to be able to stay fresh. And the only way that happens is if there are other guys that are capable of sharing the load when I get to OU. A 580 listener says recruits should be able to sign when they commit. That would be wild.
That would be.
I don't know that will ever become reality.
It won't.
And the primary reason for that is because right before these kids traditionally sign in December and or February, what's generally happening? Coaches are all taking different jobs. Coaches are getting dismissed. Mm-hmm. Other coaches are stepping in their stead. Assistants are changing staffs, changing employers. The entire landscape is shifting at many of these institutions.
And look, maybe a player would get an inkling or an intrusive thought that they want to sign. There's too many people in these players' ear, and thankfully so, by the way, that would tell them, do not do that.
Deer Creek Sooner, on the topic of KELDRID men, says, of course you want the kid to come to OU, but if he does go somewhere else, better Notre Dame rather than Texas or some other SEC school. Wouldn't you agree? Oh, absolutely. Like, that's the way that all these programs think.
Fair point.
If they're not going to be able to sign a kid, they want that kid to sign out of conference. They want him to sign somewhere, especially if it's, if we're talking a high 4-star, 5-star, if we're talking a certifiably elite prospect, they would rather not play that guy every single year. They would rather him go to Oregon or Ohio State than for him to go to Texas or LSU or Alabama. That's a preference that exists at Oklahoma and pretty much everywhere else, for that matter.
Outlaw Devil says DeMarco was a prime example of shelf life in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, he was.
And he had a good career.
Yeah.
By pretty much anybody's standards. But he played 7 seasons. 7 seasons in the league. Played 5 years, or was on the roster at Oklahoma for 5 years. Redshirted that first year. So he played 4 years of college football, 7 years of professional football, and he was out by 30. And that's how it goes for a lot of dudes. Rarely do you see an Adrian Peterson or Emmitt Smith type of creature where they're still playing running back in the league until their mid-late 30s. That just doesn't happen all that often. Frank Gore. That's another great example.
Man, he just hung around forever.
Frank Gore was the Iron Man. You could not kill that. Like, he ran for 1,000 yards at like 36 years old. What a G. Frank Gore. All right, folks. That's all for today's installment of Locked In. But rest assured, we'll be back again tomorrow. Same time, same place with another hour of OU recruiting talk right here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. The Rush is coming up next. Keep it right here.